let's find a fan fiction. I am not joking when I say this has been on my to-do list for at least 5 years. We are finally doing it today. We're taking a bunch of words off of the internet and turning them into a real physical book that I can hold in my hands and put on my bookshelf. Am I terrified? Yes. Let's get into it. So let's talk about the ethics of binding fanfiction. Fanfiction authors are not paid. They are not monetizing their craft, so therefore you shouldn't be monetizing it either. Therefore, I think it's illegal, or at least deeply frowned upon, to bind and sell or buy fanfiction, because it's someone profiting off of someone else's work and the original authors can't profit off of it because of copyright law. So it's not really fair that you can make your own copies of it and sell it and make a bunch of money, and it's not really right for you to go and buy it. As someone who really likes fanfiction and has always wanted to have some bound copies on her shelf, one of the major deters of that happening for me is that I don't know how to bookbind. I don't know how to bind fanfiction. We are going to learn how in this video, and I'm going to do it myself. If you are not willing to learn bookbinding and want to have physical copies on your shelf of your favorite fanfics, I mean, the age-old way of doing it is just printing it out and putting it in like a 3-ring binder, and you will have a printed out copy if you don't like reading digitally. So keep that in mind when you are looking at Etsy, looking at different sites, looking at Instagram, looking at TikTok, seeing people sell fanfiction binds. Just know that it's not really right. And it's pretty frowned upon in the fanfiction community. So let's get into binding. I am so excited to do this, guys. I have been wanting to do this for like 5 years at least, and we're finally doing it today. Well, today for you. For me, weeks. It's gonna take weeks. I ended up buying a lot of supplies for bookbinding, and I think that it was a very large initial investment, but a lot of these are tools and things that can be used towards other books and creations in the future. So it's not like binding this one fanfiction is going to cost me probably $200. In supplies, jumping a little ahead, and I'm going to say everything that I got and used to bind this text block. So the first step was printing. So this is just like white normal printer paper. This is a ivory printer paper, a cream. I honestly just got this on Amazon, and it's just normal printer paper. I stressed myself out and spent probably an hour, if not 2 hours, researching paper, because I'd read all of these things about that you need to know the grain. You need to use short grain paper, long grain paper. I honestly don't remember which one it was, but there were so many rules. And I was intimidated. I was overwhelmed. I reached out to this specialty paper store in the States that everyone recommends. I am Canadian, and they were like, yeah, we can ship to you. I had to actually contact them personally because they won't just ship to Canada. And they were like, but it's going to be this much money, and it was so expensive, and it was so out of my budget. And then I thought, well, if I just print on normal paper, is it going to ruin it? Like, what's the point of even doing it if I'm not going to do it right, is honestly my thought process. Not healthy, not healthy. But I said, you know what, let's just do it. So this paper was not expensive, and I think that it worked great. I don't think you need to stress about paper as much as I did. You can even print on normal white printer paper. It's fine. It's gonna be fine. The one thing I would recommend is like doing some test prints first to make sure that it's not gonna bleed through, that it looks the way you want it to look. You know, just do a little test print first and just make sure that it's what you want. For printers, you're gonna see my whole printer thing, but I thrifted a Canon Pixma. It was at the thrift store for $12. Value Village, I don't know if any of you have Value Village where you live, but all printers are $12.99. Do they work? You don't know. You don't know until you get it home. So I thrifted a duplex printer, which means that it's able to print on both sides of the paper like this without you needing to flip it. It's just gonna do it all itself. And that saves you a lot of time. You don't have the time to sit there for hours while it's printing and flip each and every paper. You don't have the time for that. Spend a few extra dollars or go to the thrift store and get a duplex printer. For getting nice sharp creases so that everything's nice and tight and looks good, use a bone folder. So I actually got a kit off of Amazon for bookbinding. I will link it down below. It came with some bone folders, but I also ordered a few more because I ordered individual supplies before getting the kit. Just get the kit and then see if you like the stuff in it before going ahead and buying a bunch of other stuff too. You need to punch holes in every one of your signature booklets. So to do that, you need a hole punch guide. Well, you don't need one. Lots of people make their own or just manually cut with a razor blade. You'll see lots of options online for how to do that. See what you want to do, see what you're comfortable with. I did go ahead and buy one of these. This is where I am going to say something really bad. And I got this off Temu. It was my first ever Temu order ever. And I regret it because this is bad. It did not work. It didn't work well. So I had to glue it together. You can see it was not good. It also didn't work very well. So I used this as my guide. I should have just gotten the one that everyone recommends from like We Are Memory Keepers on Amazon. And then this was in my bookbinding kit. It's an awl, I think, and use it for punching. You need one of these or a razor, I guess, but you need one of these. Then you need your sewing supplies. So you're gonna need waxed thread. If you don't want to buy pre-waxed thread, again, this came in my bookbinding kit, which I think was like $50 or $60. I see that the price really fluctuates on it, so like put it in your cart and keep an eye on it. Get it when the iron's hot, when it's cheap. So this came with a bunch of different kinds of thread. So this is what I used. You can use any kind of embroidery floss, and if you don't want to buy it pre-waxed, you can wax it yourself. So to do that, just get some beeswax and just run it through. This stuff, I don't actually know what this was for, but I think maybe just for like turning pages quick, but I have no clue. I used it as a giant thimble, and it was nice because you have to use a lot more pressure than you think for sewing paper. I've never done that before. If you watch a lot of tutorials like me, you're going to see a lot of people used curved sewing needles. I just used a really big, long, flat one. I'm gonna say that a lot of this is what you're comfortable with. You're gonna need something to sew with. You're gonna need some kind of needle. This is what I liked. I didn't like the curved needles. Maybe it's because I'm used to sewing with a straight needle. So this was what worked for me, but a lot of this is whatever works for you. For clamps, I honestly recommend just getting a clip like this or a bunch of even bigger ones or some kind of clamp. I used little tiny ones. These ones just have way too much pressure and they left teeth marks in my paper. So make sure that you're checking to make sure that you're not ruining your project. For the gluing, I used this natural pH adhesive, again off of Amazon. People recommend a silicone brush. This is just a regular paintbrush. This is what I used. And honestly, I see why people recommend silicone because this did soak up a lot of glue and it wasn't that easy to work with. Silicone's probably better, but you can use any kind of brush. And then this again came in my bookbinding kit. So it is this kind of book cloth and you're gonna need this for reinforcing your spine. So that is not everything I got. I got more stuff, but this is everything I used. Also some scissors. You have scissors, you don't need to go get scissors. But that's all the stuff that I used, and I definitely wasted money on getting a bunch more supplies that I didn't end up needing. Really, you don't need that much. Just everything I said, which maybe was a lot. I have my heart-shaped glasses on because I couldn't think of anything more fitting for doing our first fan fiction bind, because the first fanfic that I'm going to try to bind is Draco Malfoy and the Mortifying Ordeal of Being in Love. And if you know the heart sunglasses, you know. So there's going to be a lot of steps to this. This is going to take a while, but I feel like it'll be a fun project. This is where I tell you I've never done any of this before, so I guess I'll tell you what I'm doing and where I'm learning it. Here we go. Let's start binding. First things first, I wasn't sure how I was going to go about printing this because I don't have a printer. Didn't have a printer. I just got one. I was looking on Marketplace and they were really expensive. I was doing the math of how much it'll cost to print it at the library. Even with using my own paper, it was 20 cents a page, which just seems like a lot. I feel like it'll add up, and if I want to do multiple binds, maybe it's better to have my own printer, was my thought process. Then I went to the thrift store and I saw that all of their printers were $12.99. I Googled each printer to see if any of them would like fit my needs and found this Canon TR4527, which is this on Amazon. Does it work? Did I waste my money? Let's find out. Introducing my printer that I got for $12.99 with no confirmation that it would work. So, does it? Okay, first it took me so long to figure out how to load paper into this thing, but step one, I guess. Oh, and step two, it's connected to the computer.
test prints. Like, I feel like this isn't right. Also, is it supposed to look like that? I don't know. Anyway, it prints.
Okay, so I did my first test print of my typeset, which is what it's called, the formatting. Taking it from looking like this, a fan fiction, online looking like that, to more of a book. I did not make this. I found people talking about this typeset first on TikTok, and then I searched for it in a Facebook group I'm in, which is Amateur Fanfic Binding, and this is the person's post. People just share these out of the goodness of their heart. There's so many different typesets for so many different fan fictions. It's so lovely that people share, but you can make your own. I'm not there yet. I did a test print and it's not right. So now we gotta figure out how to get it proper. Also, this is in on white paper. It's really sunny. White paper. I also bought cream. So I'm gonna try printing on the cream now and see what I like better. So this print on the short edge, is the difference that I made. I'm going to do just not the first 2 pages, I guess, and here we go. I think this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna print it on the cream. It's gonna look like this. Allie's training our dog. It worked. Okay, so now I'm gonna start printing it, and it's gonna take forever, but that's okay. I'm gonna go do stuff around the house while it prints. It's printing from the last page, I think. Is that gonna mess it up? I don't know. So tonight's project was folding all of these. What are they called? I'll write it on the screen now. I don't remember what they're called, but all little booklets that I'm eventually gonna have to sew together. But right now they need to press. So they're all folded. The book should be in order. I think that's something I should double check, but time to press it. Hi, this is Editing Me, here to say I didn't explain this well, so let's talk about what I'm doing. When you print a typeset, which is like the formatted fan fiction, into a book, it's not going to print in chronological order, numerical order. It's not going to print page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way. So what's going to happen is it prints in signatures, they're called, which are like booklets. When you're looking at your specific typeset that someone else has made, it's going to tell you how many pages are in each of those signatures or booklets. So it's gonna seem like things are printing out of order, but they're not. It's a little confusing. You're gonna notice that once you fold that booklet, then all of a sudden the pages are in order. If you're gonna be sewing your book together like I am, you need to do it this way so that you have the booklets so that you can sew them together. It simplifies the whole process rather than needing to stick 500 pages together. Okay, so I'm sitting here with my book of signatures. These pressed really well in my book press. I think they look really good. Looking book-like. But now I need to sew them together, which honestly is the most intimidating part. I have this little tool, which I think is called an awl.
It's pointy, and I'm gonna just like literally, oh wait, I'll show you this too. I'm just gonna like stab.
Hi, so this is actually me from the future interrupting to talk about sewing. So now that we have all of the signatures pressed and folded and sorted and hole poked and everything ready to sew, I realized that there is actually a lot of ways that you can sew. So when I started this journey, I honestly had no idea that I would actually have to sew papers together with thread to make a book. Like, that seems hard. So there are a bunch of different ways that you can do this. I'm doing something called a French link stitch. This is what it looks like, and I am doing this tutorial. I will link it down below for any of you that are following along and doing your own bind. One option when you're doing this stitch is to put like ribbons to add extra structural integrity, and I didn't do that. Am I going to regret it? Maybe. I do have some more binds planned. Maybe we'll get them done in one video because, spoiler alert, this is going to be a two-parter because there's just too much to learn, too much to talk about and do in one video. You would be bored. It'd be an hour. It'd be way too much. So we're breaking it up. But I want to bind Manacled next, and that is going to be a beast of a book. So big, so thick, so scary. And that will definitely need some extra reinforcement. So use these extra ribbons to reinforce when you're doing a really big bind. This one isn't that big, so I'm going to forgo them and we'll see what happens. Okay, so here's where I'm going to confess that sewing was a bit difficult. I struggled with the tension, and I actually made a huge mistake at one point, and I had finished my bind, sewed it all up, tied it all off, and then realized that I hadn't pulled a stitch all the way through. So on the inside I had like this much thread, and I panicked and pulled it out the spine side, tied it in a knot, and just cut it off. Will that mess with the book? Who knows? Who knows? I've never done this before. I'm also going to say that there was this thing called a kettle stitch in the end, and I am 100% sure that I did it wrong. And that is coming from someone who embroiders. I was confused. I should have watched another tutorial to make sure I really understood what I was doing, but I was impatient, so I didn't. But it's sewed together. We're on to the next step. So far it's looking like this. Can you see? Let's see. Let's take it out of the book press and see what it looks like. I'm gonna start gluing it now. I honestly don't know. I feel like I did not sew it well. So are we back at square one? Let's see. I think the sewing went okay, but my worry is the tension like does not seem strong enough. Like, look at these gaps. What we're gonna do now is toss this back in the book press, put glue on here, and then keep gluing it and see if we can save it. I honestly don't know. I saw this hack where you put needles through here. Let's see if this is gonna work. Okay, you see how the needles like caught there, so it's like perfectly aligned here. I have my glue, I have my brush. Let's do a first coat. I think maybe my last clip didn't fill. So this is 2 layers of glue. I think I'm gonna do 1 more layer before I go in with the cloth and glue that on. I don't know, I don't know what I'm doing, guys. This is like 3 layers of glue, I think. So next up, I guess I'm gonna have to like loosen it and get it out of there so I don't completely glue it to my book press. Might have already. Then I'm gonna go in with this fabric, this fun little fabric, and I guess reinforce the spine. So first things first, let's take